This call is now being recorded.
We are live, ma'am. We can start.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nilesh. Good afternoon to all the participants. Today we are having a webinar on homeopathy in veterinary medicine. And the expert speaker for today's webinar is an eminent scientist, Dr. J.P. Varshney. He has a vast clinical and research experience, and also he's been a very renowned teacher, veterinary medicine. So he has a lot experience as regards to homeopathy, how to use homeopathy in veterinary medicine, what are the pros and cons. He is a recipient of as many as 33 honors and awards, including Best Teacher Award for the year 2003 and 2004 from IVRI. He has 382 research publications and clinical publications of national and international reputed journals. Now I would request Dr. S.S. Tomar, Dean, Riva Veterinary College, to give a brief introduction about the topic to all the participants. Respected Dean, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Aditi.
Thank you, sir.
Respected Dr. S.V. Tiwari, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. R.P.S. Baghel, Dean Faculty, NDVSU, Dr. J.P. Vasle, our today's esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Nilesh, and all the participants. In addition to the mainline therapy, that is conventional therapies, the use of alternative and complementary therapies has a definite place in veterinary medicine today. The wave of future is to have veterinarians skilled in both complementary and conventional therapies, and to have veterinary practitioners who are well enough educated in these therapies. Veterinarians are definitely becoming more aware of the need for and showing more interest in alternative medicine. The overriding goal in most veterinarians' mind is to heal animals and provide the best in care so that animals can live healthy, productive lives. Education to keep up with the new therapies and medications is of paramount importance to achieve this goal. Many foreign countries, many foreign universities, institutions are now offering elective courses for students and on-site courses for practitioners on these alternative therapies. So homeopathy has a definite place in veterinary medicine today. So today's webinar has been organized with the goal to make the participants get a good basic knowledge of this treatment modality. So our today's guest speaker, Dr. Vasile, is very expertise in this field. So I invite him to kindly deliver the talk, and I'm sure that we all will be highly benefited by his talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dean sir. The topic for today is homeopathy in veterinary practice. As Dean sir has already emphasized that now the time is coming when the holistic approach in animal treatment has to be taken. This homeopathy is an important ingredient of the holistic medicine. One of the important aspect of this one, alternate medicine or holistic approach. This homeopathy, as the word indicate, means homeo and pathos. Homeo means similar, pathos means suffering. The science or the modality which treat the patient with the similar substances which can create the disease. So this is the meaning of the homeopathy. I shall deliver this talk into 4 or 5 important segments. One will be the what is homeopathy, what is its basic principle, how it is different from the modern medicine, and what is the how the drugs are selected in homeopathy for animal treatment, whether it is a placebo or it is a science. We will discuss that. Whether what are the basic concept of the homeopathy in olden time and what changes have occurred now, and what are the indication of different drugs for animal diseases, what is the research which has gone into homeopathy in animal science, and what is foreign scenario, and what are our limitations. So let us start. What is homeopathy? As I have already explained what is meaning of the homeopathy. Homeopathy is a different science which is complete and a different approach. Complete in the sense it can be used for treatment purposes, for prevention purposes. Different in the sense the philosophy of homeopathy differs from the modern method of treatment. Nowadays, or since beginning, the homeopathy has been considered as highly ecological, not eco-friendly, because the drugs are coming from the nature and compensate. It takes care of the patient as a whole, his emotions, his feelings, his body conditions, everything, and comprehensive because it is based on all type of the changes which occurs in the body. So it has been considered ecological, compensate, and comprehensive. This homeopathy took birth in the later part of 18th century. It was a brainchild of Dr. Hahnemann, who experimented with cinchona on himself first, and then postulated the hypothesis of homeopathy. This philosophy of homeopathy differs from modern medicine. Is basic is principle of similar. What is similar? The substances which can cause disease in certain concentration can cure the same symptoms in the very lower concentration. So the substances which can produce disease can cure the disease. So this was the basic principle when the homeopathy was postulated. And another important philosophy of homeopathy is dynamization. The drugs are not simple, not simply diluted, but dynamized because of and they are potentiated, and micro doses are used, both in not in milligram, but in the nanograms drugs are used. If you see the scenario of homeopathy world over, today 2.1% Americans are using homeopathy. In Italy, it is 8.5% population is using homeopathy. Germans, 15% Germans are using homeopathy. In the India, scenario is also very good. About 12.3% Indians are using homeopathy. This homeopathy was introduced, was taken birth in the Germany, was introduced in India in 1810. And later on, the veterinary homeopathy developed. Originally, this was developed for the human being. Then Dr. Hahnemann said that the same principles applied for animals also. So they started treating the animals, and birth of veterinary homeopathy took place. The stalwart which are who are practicing or who practice the veterinary homeopathy are MacLeod, Dr. Day, and Richard Pitcairn. They are the renowned personalities in homeopathy, in animal homeopathy. Homeopathy was so fascinating. Our father of nation at that time said that homeopathy cures the larger percentage of cases than any other method of treatment, and is beyond doubt it is safer, more economical, and more complete science. This was the assumption of, this was the thought of our father of nation at that time. When he gave these ideas, the homeopathy was considered non-scientific, because at that time it was not propounded how the homeopathy is acting, what is the mechanism of action of these homeopathic drugs, which has taken place now. So the homeopathy, as I said, its principles are different. The cardinal principles are can be divided into 6 for homeopathy. One is law of similia. This law of similia means these substances which will produce the disease or which can produce the symptoms are able to treat them, or these symptoms can be alleviated by the same substances in different dose. And second thing, that homeopathy believes in simplicity. That means if we require only one drug, the one drug will be used, not many. So it is the simple one drug therapy, individualized therapy, only one drug for so many symptoms in one patient. So this was the law of simplex. Then law of minimum. Law of minimum means the minimum amount of the drug should go into the patient body. That means if we can use 1 picogram, then we should not use the milligram. So drug is given in very, very, very minute quantity. And the whole philosophy was this, how they developed the drugs. This was depend on doctrine of drug probing. Probing means this was healthy volunteers were taken and drugs were given in C quantity or X quantity, and symptoms were noted in healthy, and they were very well documented, and that provides the repertoire for simple drugs. Suppose arnica. Arnica given to a healthy patient, and the symptoms produced by the arnica in a particular concentration were recorded, and then it was prescribed that if these symptoms are there, use arnica. So it is based on the probings on healthy subjects. And theory of vital force. Theory of vital force means that homeopathy believes that all living organisms have vital forces. If their balance is normal, if equilibrium is there, they function normally. If the vital forces are deviated or they are reduced, they cannot function. So the purpose of the homeopathy was to homostabilize or stabilize the vital forces in the body. And then doctrine of drug dynamization. Drug dynamization means drug is potentiated. Suppose we have taken an arnica, it is X, we have taken 1 part, diluted in 9 part, it becomes 1:10 dilution. This is called X potency. And when we take further 1 part, add in 9 part, then it becomes 2X dilution. So this serial dilution with a shaking, this is a dynamization process which potentiates the drug. So these were the 6 doctrine or 6 principles on which the homeopathy was propounded. Now, as the basic principle was similia. Actually, the principle of similia was not new to homeopathy, but only the thing is that Dr. Hahnemann utilized that principle. This principle of similia is known to Hindus, and it is evident in Hindu writings over last 3,000 years ago. It is documented that Hindu writings have this similar principles of similia, similibus, curantus. So it was not only new to the homeopathy. Then in 4th century, this principle was utilized by Hippocrates. And they also thought that through the like disease is produced, through the application of the like, it is cured. Then in 16th century, the Paracelsus also used the law of similars. But in 18th century, the German physician Samuel Hahnemann not only recognized this principle, but studied in depth and propounded the therapy which is known as homeopathy. So this this principle of similia is not only imbibed in homeopathy, but is also seen in medicine. Now, have a look in our modern medicine. Do we have this principle or not? We are actually also having a principle of similia in the modern medicine. See the radiotherapy. If the radiation, we all know that it can cause cancer. And radiation is also used to treat the cancer. So it is utilizing the same principle of similia. Then other drugs, amphetamines. This can produce hyperactivity in children. They can be used to treat the hyperactive children. Another is immunization. It is also a separate branch of modern medicine which utilizes the same principle of similia, because the same organism which is producing the disease, the component of the organism is utilized to immunize the patient. See the digitalis. Digitalis in different quantity, it can create the arrhythmia. The digitalis in different quantity can be used to treat the heart problem. Similar is the nitroglycerin. This also produces the heart problem, can also use for the cure of the heart problem. Now, colchicine. Look at colchicine. Colchicine has been known to cause gout, but it has nowadays also used to treat the gout. Similarly, gold salt for arthritis, allergens for allergy. And then some in vitro studies were undertaken where it has been seen that the aspirin in higher quantities can cause hemorrhages. And if it is the quantity is reduced, aspirin, it is potentized, it is produced in a homeopathic way, it can arrest the hemorrhage and even it can change the coagulation profile. Similar is the case with atropine. If we use atropine in a normal subject, in a normal dose, the mucous membranes become dry. And if we give the small quantities of atropine in a homeopathic way, it can increase the secretion of mucous membrane. So this is the principle of similia which is available, has been utilized in modern medicine as well as in homeopathic medicine. Now look at it. See how the homeopathic medicine comes. What are the homeopathic drugs? What type of homeopathic drugs are there? The homeopathic drugs can be classified into 4 categories. One is drug, homeopathic drug. Other is homeopathic nosode. Third is homeopathic sarcode. And fourth is impondervalia, homeopathic impondervalia. These are the 4 types of the preparation which are used in homeopathy. The source of homeopathic drug is plant, animal, or mineral. So the same things is utilized in modern medicine also. But how we prepare the drug in homeopathy or in modern medicine is different. In homeopathic medicine, the drugs are prepared from dilution and sactuation. The dilution means take one part of the drug, 9 part of water, and it becomes 1:10. This is X potency. And then further take 1 part of it, again 9 part of water or alcohol, then this is 2X potency. Like that we dilute. It is a simple dilution. This is not homeopathy. This is one factor of homeopathy. When we take 1 part of a drug and add 9 part of water and shake it vigorously, now they have standardized how much stroke is to be given, what force should be there for the stroke. So that is called sactuation or stroking or vibration or stroking. So these 2 principles make the homeopathic preparation of homeopathic drugs little different from the modern medicine. Now see the worldwide scenario. What is the market of homeopathic drug all over the world? The homeopathic industry has come up in European Union. It is about a 1 million pound industry, 1 billion pound industry. In India, it has been estimated that 5,783 crores industry is there. In USA, it is $8 billion. So globally, it is about 26,300 crores industry. Now, when the drugs are prepared in a different way, so there are certain instructions which have to be followed while keeping the homeopathic drug or using the homeopathic drug. The first thing is we have to avoid handling. The homeopathic drug should not come in contact with the bare hand. So they are either to be taken directly in the mouth, or when we use pills, we use the pills, take in a spoon and then use it, not to take in paper or not to take on hand and then use it. And then only required dose is dispensed. This is the and this is very important, because what we do in allopathic medicine, we can tear out one and keep the other. Here it is either in a tincture form or in pills form. If we require 4 pills, only 4 pills to be taken out. If you take 6 and you want to take 2 pills back, it is not permitted. So only take the required doses. And then medicine should not be stored in sunlight. It should be away from sunlight, and it should be kept away even from the smelling substances. So then it's homeopathic drugs are not to be kept in the fridge or in a frozen state. These medicines should also be kept away from all electromagnetic devices. Means it should not be kept near the computers, TVs, or phones or other electromagnetic devices. When we take a homeopathic medicine, at least they should remain in the mouth for 30 seconds so that they are absorbed right from in the buccal cavity. And if we are using 2 or 3 homeopathic medicine, there should be a time gap of about 5 minutes between 2 medicines. Then the other things, if we are using in animals, then we can use these drugs in a drinking water. We can take drinking water and add either tinctures or pilules in them and can offer to the animals. And then when we take a medicine, food has to be avoided. So this is also important in human beings as well as animals. So when we want to give the animal, their food should be stopped at least half an hour before, and then give the medicine, and then stop the food again for half an hour, then only the food should be offered. Now we come to how we select the homeopathic medicine for treatment. Actually, this selection of the homeopathic drugs are based on repertoire of symptoms, various symptoms in a subject whole. It is not only one symptom is taken. Suppose an animal has got some injury. Only injury we have not to see. We have to see whether it is associated with pain, whether it is associated with the bleeding, or whether it is associated with the temperature, or the animal is anxious, or animal is showing some behavioral changes. So all things should be taken into the account. They form the basis of selection of the drug. So when other labels are there, for convenience sake, this has been classified into different categories. The homeopathic drugs can be selected at a different level. That is, first as a pathologic level. Suppose somebody has met accident, some injuries has taken. So blindly we can rely on arnica. Arnica can be the drug of trauma. So when trauma is there, arnica can be given. So it is a label for disease is there. You have identified the thing, so you can use that. Other is a local label. So which system is affected? Suppose gastrointestinal. Yeah, gastrointestinal system is affected. Their selection is, it can be mercurius solubus or arsenic if a diarrhea is there, if vomiting is there. So these two main symptoms will specify that we can go for mercurius solubus or arsenic. If in horses, colic symptom is there, then colocin. These are the direct drugs. Without going into the totality, we can use them at first time. Then at organ level, if we have today we have lot of laboratory support and ultrasound support and X-ray support. If we find there is a problem in the liver, hepatitis is there, cirrhosis is there, then the drug of choice will be chelidonium. That if eye problems are there, it is a euphrasia. We can go for euphrasia. If the muscle problems are there or tendon problem is there, then Rustox can be selected. If thyroid problem is there, Floripedra can be selected. Then comes to historic level. If history is there, if history of injury is there, as I told you, arnica can be preferred. If history of parturition is there, then all post-parturian problems, colophylum can be selected at first time. Then at regulatory level, we see our calves or others they are on a roughage or hay or brusa. So there could be a iron deficiency and they are showing some sign of anemia. We can go for ferret. If there are lead toxicities there in the lead world, then we go for plumbum. And then if the growing animals are there showing rickets and other signs, then we go for calcarea. So they are at regulatory level, what type of the mineral or vitamin that is deficient, that is requiring, we can select the drug at that level. Then at a specific level, some organ like mastitis, mammary gland, then specifically drug if you want to select, they are nosort. They are particularly nosort we can select. Then feline leukopenia, here you can select for cat influenza nosort. They are the very specific drug for specific level. So then comes the desensitization level. When hypersensitivity is there, we have to prepare the homeopathic potency of these allergens and we can use them as a desensitizing drug. Then comes hello. Then comes the most important level, that is known as constitutional level. This is the most important level of selection of drug in the homeopathy, where it is difficult and important also, because nature of the individual, of the patient, whole nature, whether his body construction, his physiology, his mental thinking, his nervous temperament, and liking, disliking, all is to be taken into the account so that you can select a very, very specific drug. This medicine is matching the symptom in every area and organ of the body of the patient. So not a disease, but patient as a whole has to be taken into the consideration. Like see the sulfur. Generally people use sulfur in skin diseases. But sulfur has a characteristic. If the individual is feeling hot, thirsty, his nature is philosophical, though it is difficult in animals to find out whether it is philosophical or not, and cool seeking. That can be the animal is going to cool places and things like that. Sweet loving, or then skin disease. If these things are there, then you can select the sulfur. Then if in sulfur, other important characteristics are there, that if the symptoms become worse in the early morning. Then arsenic, for selection of arsenic, we have to see the individuals, whether it's dislike cold, it is restless, drinking small quantities of water very frequently, and symptoms become worse at night. If such type of the history is available, then arsenic can be selected. These you may be surprising, but many of the symptoms cannot be met with the animal because these are based on the probing on human. So these things are available on the basis of human only. So whatever we can match, we can match. Then preventive medicine. Preventive medicine, where the drugs are used to prevent the disease, they are nosort. Usually 30C potency nosorts are used, and they have been research studies have done with the kennel cough nosort, distemper nosort, hepatitis, nosod, parvonosod, enteritis in dogs, feline leukopenia virus, FIV, FIP in cats, influenza and herpes virus in the horse. In them, the studies has been made using the nosod. Generally, general schedule for nosod is then the nosod is given orally for BID for 3 days, then twice weekly for 3 weeks, then once monthly for 6 months, and then one dose at night and morning every 6 months. This is a general schedule for using the nosod. However, it may vary from case to case and what type of the disease we are dealing with and what type of nosod we are preparing. Now, comes the posology. Generally, many people have asked me, or generally it is asked, what should we dose? As in modern medicine, dose is dependent on the body weight. But in homeopathy, dose is not dependent on body size or body weight. It may be same for a rat, it may be same for an elephant, it may be same for cattle, buffalo, or hogs. Because here is a potency which matters. Which drug we are using? It is X, 10x, 30x, 12x, 6x, or C. Then 30C, 200C, or guard potency we are using. That is important. If higher potency is a higher potency, X is a lower potency. If we are select, and then again in C, it is 30, 200, 1M. And 30 is a normal, 200 is a medium, and 1M is a very higher potency. So when we use the higher potency, they are selected for chronic diseases, and lower potencies are selected for acute diseases. As far as frequency is concerned, frequency, when to give, how many times we have to give, this depends on the disease dynamics. Suppose it is a case of the seizures. If a dog is suffering from seizures, the drugs like belladonna and others, and the seizure phase, they can be given lower potency drugs. They can be given very frequently, every half an hour, till the symptoms recede. Then we can switch on to BID or TID. But in the initial phase, in acute phase, lower potency with a higher frequency can be given. In chronic diseases, it can be higher potencies with a less frequency. Then again, duration. Generally, it is asked how many days it has to be continued. It is seen by patient response. Till the patient is not showing any response, drug is continued. The basic fundamental is that drug is given for 4 days. If the response is not there, then we have to think whether drug is right or wrong. If it is you are 100% right, that drug is right, then it can be further continued. If you are not sure, then you have to change the drug. And when the symptoms recede, the response comes, then stop the drug. And frequency is also to be changed. So this is the posology of these drugs. Now, many times it has been raised whether this homeopathy is scientific inquiries, modern science. It has raised the question whether the homeopathy is safe or not. This type of the questions has come because there is a very, very higher dilution where no molecule or no atom is existing. So modern science believes that if there is a no molecule, how it can be, it can cure the effect, or how it can show the effect. So this is the queries of the modern science, whether it is safe or not. Generally, it is said that homeopathic drugs are safe. But I will add that sometimes homeopathic drugs are also not safe if not selected properly, or if their potency is not selected properly. So they can be unsafe also, and there can be the symptom crisis also. If you use the X potencies, lower potencies in higher doses, it can cause the symptoms crisis. The same symptoms may occur. So we have to see from that angle. Now, another question is it efficacious? Yes, when people say, I have been cured from such and such thing, I have been cured, so they say it is efficacious. But why this question has been raised? There is lack of scientific documentation of double-blind trials that the drug is efficacious. So that's why the modern science is raising the question whether the efficaciousness of the homeopathic drug is of a scientific nature or it may be a placebo effect. Then modern science asks, now if it is efficacious, is there a sufficient data? The answer is sufficient data is lacking. In modern science, the sufficient data means there is a large scale trial with double blind trials should be carried out. And that is lacking. So that making the doubt on the efficacy of homeopathic drug. The whatever data, as I told you, the research has been conducted from last 200 years in homeopathic field in animals as well as in human beings. Data is available. So the query is whether that data is a quality data. The answer is the quality data is very less. Double blind data, randomized trial data is very less. So data is of a individual or clinical basis on few cases basis. Then all these results are always expected. As we give some medicine, suppose we have a pain, we give some analgesic. We expect that pain will be reduced. Is it the same case with the homeopathy? It is not always true. Sometimes we can expect that the result will be exaggerated, or sometimes the symptoms will be alleviated. Is research data conform to research design? When we say that such and such drug is efficacious, then that has to go through a conformed research design. Research design with the modern medicine is that we use the double-blind trials or randomized trials and a statistical number of the cases. But in homeopathy, it is an individual. So taking the cases of the same disease, many animals may not be possible because some symptoms may be variable. So the drug may vary. So this is the variation of the methodology of homeopathy as well as of the modern science. The research design of modern science is little different from the research design of the homeopathy. So because of these queries, the scientific inquisitiveness in the modern science has created doubt whether these drugs are effective or not. Now, I give you a third eye view of the world over. There was a time from 2005 to 2015 when homeopathy was considered a placebo. There were many myths about homeopathy. People said that homeopathy is a fraud, it does not work, water can structure the memory, when molecule is not there, how the effect can be there. So these questions were raised in the report of Lancet 2005 and in British House of Commons Science and Technology Commission in 2010. British Medical Association in 2010 raised the similar questions, and Australian Natural Health Medicine Research Council raised the similar things in 2015, and Russian Academy of Science also raised the same questions in 2015. They said that there is no science to back up homeopathy. They lacking the double-blind trial. Therefore, the homeopathy is fraud. Whatever is said, it does not work because water cannot structure the memory. At that time, it was not known that water can structure. Now it has been found that the water can structure the memory. But at that time, it was not known. So because of these questions, and the other important aspect was the Avogadro's hypothesis. At certain level, at 10 raised to power 13, minus 13, no molecule exists if dilution is made. When there is no molecule or no atom, then how the effect will be there? So these were the important questions raised by the modern science during 2005 to 2015, and the homeopathy was considered a placebo. Now look at placebo. What is placebo? is homeopathy really a placebo? As you know, as I told that Avogadro molecule exists in the solution, they do not exist in solution beyond 6.023 into 10 raised to power 23. At that level, no molecule exists. So this was the major objection of the modern science. So it is considered a placebo. Then what is a placebo? When drug is not there, it could be a placebo effect. Now we visualize what is placebo. Placebo effect is a effect, feeling of well-being, believing that something has been given by the well-wisher. Suppose I have a faith in some doctor. He gives me something, whether drug or placebo. And when I take it, I feel well-being. Yes, I have become cured. There are many stories in society that they have given something, the animal has cured, or human being has shown effect. So this is a placebo effect. This is based on neurobiological neurotransmission, because releasing of dopamine and releasing of the dopamine, and then these transmitters, they start a feeling of the well-being. This is a placebo effect. So can you think, as a human being, we can feel, can they, we have a certain, the person who is standing before us is our well-wisher. Whatever he will give us, it will be for our well-being. We have a faith in him. So we can have a good transmission of neurobiological transmission. Dopamine may be there, and then we can feel good. But think, animals. Can animal is able to mentally distinguish whether this is a homeopathic medicine or modern medicine or placebo or nothing else is there? So at animal level, when we come, animals are not so mentally strong that they can distinguish between the types of the drug, or they can have a faith in the person who is giving the medicine. They have a faith or may not have a faith. So this thing does not work with the animal. So in animals, it may not be a placebo effect, but in human beings, the placebo effect in all medicine, not only homeopathy, but for modern, is only to the rate of 10 to 12%. Now, see some analogy between the science, modern branch of the modern science is immunology and homeopathic science. Both took birth in the end of 18th century in the Europe. Both developed in Europe, and Jenner experimented with the cowpox while Hahnemann experimented with cinchona. And both disciplines were based on endogenous system of healing, that's a neuroendocrine mechanism or integration, both as a vaccine immunology as well as homeopathy. In both sciences, one thing is common. The practice of both sciences came the first, then science was searched later. So initially, both discoveries were rejected. With both scientists were very much discouraged initially, but later on, when their recognition comes, this came very later. Then one thing that the difference what homeopathy and modern science says, stimulus of a substance depends on the strength of the stimulus, higher dose or lower dose. This is true with the modern medicine, so true with the homeopathic medicine. The higher concentration causes a depressing effect, and lower concentration causes the stimulating effect. This was Schultz and Arndt's principle. They proved that at different doses, the effect of the substances are different. So whatever the principle in homeopathy is there, lower potency is more toxic and higher potency is more recuperative. So the principle is now has found in scientific. Now comes the queries. This is a time to answer the queries whether how the homeopathic drugs act. Initially, two hypotheses were propounded. One was based on chaos theory, where it was considered that minute changes in the system can lead to a huge difference in dynamic system. This will apply only to the living organism, not dead material. When any minute changes is made in the whole system, the differences will be huge. So dilution and shaking This creates the high level of energy. When these substances goes into the living system, they create the dynamic changes in the body. But at that time, when this theory was propounded, it could not be proved. Then came the resonance theory, when it was considered that all matter, or living matter, they radiate energy. So dilution and shaking, that is potentiation, it creates the electromagnetic state in the solution, to which there are the fine magnetite particles in the brain, which are hypersensitive to electromagnetic states. So possibly this change in this electromagnetic state of the substance, that is recognized in the body, and they brings about the cure. But both theories could not be substantiated experimentally at that time. Now the time has changed. Now, with the development in physics and nuclear physics, and then chemistry, the things have changed. Now, recently, during last 2 to 3 years, it has been confirmed that the homeopathic drugs which are diluted, they work as a nano medicine. They work as a nanoparticle. And when they are diluted, the information of the original substances is encrypted by a process known as epitaxy on the silicon-rich crystalline nanoparticle. When you shake the homeopathic drugs for making the potentiation, they are in the glass bottle or glass material. So it is not only the substance, but the silicon from the glass material also come into the substance. So there is a complex of silicon and nanoparticles. And that memory of the original substances is encrypted by epitaxy on this matter. Where it is encrypted? When nanoparticle is there, on the nanoparticle there is a layer of interfacial layer of water. Because originally when the drugs are mother tinctures are formed, they are produced in 60 to 70% alcohol and 30 to 40% is water. So that water provided the basis for encryption of the memory. So that water layer on the surface of the nanoparticle, with the memory is encrypted. And biological system is able to recognize the target, identify the target. So another theory has come which says that homeopathic drugs trigger favorable regulatory changes in gene expression. Gene expression is changed in favorably. So this is possibly through epigenetic modification. That means this was the work of our Indian scientist, Dr. Khudabakhsh. Now, these are the pictures to show you that if the homeopathic way, the colchicum is diluted, create as a 15C potency. 15C potency, one potency means 1 diluted by 100, and then similarly 15 times. So you see the conglomeration of the nanoparticles. These are nanoparticles. This is the conglomeration of the nanoparticles. So they prove that even at 15C or 30C, the particles are there, nanoparticles are there, their configuration may be different, conglomeration may be different. So we can't say that beyond Avogadro, the particles remain as a nanoparticle. Now, other theories which have provided evidence of working of homeopathy is supramolecular chemistry, the chemistry which is beyond the molecule. When we prepare the drug in allopathic way, the two atoms, they combine by covalent bond. By sharing their electron, two atoms will share an electron and then likewise they form the molecule. But in supramolecular chemistry, the atoms are not locked by covalent bond, but they are locked by a hydrogen bond. And then hydrogen bond, it can retain the memory. So when hydrogen bond is created, it can create a significant force. So this bond is is being utilized to explain the efficacy of homeopathic drugs. Now, The two processes of homeopathic drugs, as I told you, one is dilution. Take a simple sodium chloride, add into the water. The sodium chloride will dissociate as sodium and chloride. And each molecule of the water has a two pole, positive pole and negative pole. And positive pole of the water will attract to the negative ion, that is chloride ion, and negative pole of water will attract to the sodium ion. So in that way, this is only when you dilute, nothing more than happens. And when you dilute, this solution become a ionic particle nucleation. So this become a ionic particle nucleation. But when you suffuse, you vibrate or you apply force or you shake it vigorously, the atmosphere is introduced into the solution. It means the air is introduced into the molecule at molecular level, and this intensifies the hydrogen bond. And because of intensifying the hydrogen bond, the surface tension is increased and conglomeration of the atoms or molecules changes. It creates the ionic air nucleation rather than ionic particle nucleation. So ionic particle nucleation is in the modern medicine, and ionic air nucleation with suffustion and dilution is the basis of homeopathic drugs. So they also say there is evidence that molecule that drug remains in a nanoparticle form, and there are different type of conglomeration. They influence the electromagnetic changes in the system. So now that question is being answered, that homeopathic medicines can work by this way. Now, how the homeopathic drugs has been used or being used in veterinary practice. There are two types of homeopathic drugs. One is classical homeopathy, where we use a single drug. Another is a homeopathic remedy, combination remedy, where synergistic homeopathic drugs are combined together, taking into the pathophysiology of the disease, and they are used. So now we are talking for the classical homeopathic medicine. Suppose I have listed some based on the different systems. Suppose abscesses are there. If abscesses are associated with the they are red hot and painful, then we can use select belladonna. If they are discharging but not healing, then we can use the calcium sulfate, calcaria sulfate. If they are acute and painful, heparin sulfate. If fever is there with abscess, then pyrogenium we have to use. And if chronic abscesses are there, silicea we have to use. Similarly, if bovine ketosis, if constitutional basis, we have to select this is lycopodium. If only we want to alleviate the symptoms, we can go for senna. Then comes the other. Then go the suppose alopecia. In feline, if constitutional basis, we can select the arsenicum or natramine. If anal gland infection is there in dogs, if it is chronic, silicea can be used. If anaphylaxis is there acute, aconitum can be used. If anaphylaxis is with a face swelling and dry mucous membrane, Apis mellifera can be used. If appetite is reduced, Nux vomica, Lycopodium, ignatia can be used. Then in arthritis, if swelling improved by cold application, then it is Apis. If swelling is worse by movement, then it is Bryonia. If aged animal is there and swelling is worse at night or pain is worse at night, then Causticum. If small joints are affected, then Ladium has to be used. And if the swelling is worse by cold and improved by the warmth, then Rustox can be used. So these are how we can select the drug. Then behavior, if fear is there, we can use gelsemium. If panic is there, we can use arsenicum. If excitement is there, we can use belladonna, Nux vomica. If noise phobia is there, we can use belladonna, gelsemium, phosphorus, Nux vomica. And even cracker phobia is there during Deepavali, we can use borax in our hand. If bloat is frothy, colchicum we can use. Then colic, if rolling in kicking is there, cholesynthesis. If bloated abdomen, lycopodium. If collapse is there, sudden collapse, then carbovel. If conjunctivitis with cold is there, aconite and euphrasia is the best medicine. If photophobia conjunctivitis with photophobia, then mercurius solubus can be used. If yellow or green discharge is there from eye, then pulsatilla can be used. In constipations also, if the feces is small knotty, nux vomica can be used. If it is dry with much effect, it is coming with much effort, then sulfur can be used. Likewise, cuffing, you have aconite, parcel, spongia, depending on different symptoms. In cystitis, if cystitis, then a sudden pain and aconite. If blood and urge is there, then cantharis. If lith is there, uroliths are there, then Sarsa perilla can be used. Likewise, in diarrhea also with the blood, with vomiting, with straining, with variable consistency, worst in morning. So there are different drugs. Even for cough diarrhea, chamomile can be used. In heart diseases, with arrhythmia, with poor contraction, cardiac insufficiency, in congestive cough, there are different medicines which can be selected. Like heat stroke, if it's sudden, we can go for aconite. If it is associated with stupor and absorption, glononium we can use. Like injuries with abrasion, with pain, with infection, with dog bite, insect bite, snake bite, and hemorrhage, they are different medicine which suits to proper repertoire of the symptoms. Then in lactation, if we want, here is the example. You have the same drug, Artica 30C, if you want to increase the milk yield. If you want to dry up the same animal, the same drug is to be used in lower potency, 6C and 30. In mastitis, as I told, there are many drugs which are used on basis of many symptoms. That if mastitis is associated with hot swelling and pain, then belladonna. This animal is unwilling to move, bryonia. If udder is hard, we can go for phytolica. And if chronic, we can use silica. And if purulent discharge is there, then heparsal. If milk is disturbed, then artica. Then in metritis, polyphyllum can be used. Tendon and ligament, ruta can be used. And in babesiosis, there are few medicines like China of Fiscus, Crotalus horridus, Pulsatilla, Phosphorus, and Millefolium. Out of them, Crotalus horridus has been tried in dogs and in large animals. Others, they are not much reports are available. In anaplasmosis, you can use TNT, Crotalus horridus, Phosphorus, China, and Phytolus. So these are the single base medicine or classical medicine which are designated, and there are many more. They are only to cite few examples which I have jotted down for your convenience. And others is the remedies, homeopathic remedies, combination remedies, where medicine is not one. There are multiple medicines of different potency has been combined together to provide the effect on the whole system of the animal. So much of the research has been directed to the mastitis or memory affections with the homeopathic remedies. This is an Indian scenario I am talking. The homeopathic combination remedy consisting of Phytolica, Calcarea, Silicea, Arnica, Belladonna, Bryonia, Apis as a single remedies as per condition has been used, as a combination remedy has been used in these conditions and has shown quite efficacious result. Now, the question comes, when classical homeopathy stress on individual medicine or a single drug, minimum drug, then why the concept of homeopathic combination remedy has come? This homeopathic combination remedy concept is not original. It was not with the time of the Hahnemann. It is his disciples later on decided to provide a broad spectrum medicine which can take care of many symptoms which are not associated, not can be cured by a single drug. If we combine synergistic drug, they can be taken care of. So like that, this is to give an example why we select different medicine. So what is mastitis actually? There are, if we go by modern medicine definition, there are two changes. One is organic changes, one is product changes. Organic changes, mammary gland, teeth, its tissues, they are affected, and product, milk is affected. So that is in a modern medicine. When you see So what we want to address, what problem? See mastitis. Mastitis, what is more? If inflammation there, then swelling will be there, heat will be produced, and redness will be there. When there is a more congestion, the capillaries may rupture, there may be hemorrhage. And when all these things, swelling is there, heat is there, redness is there, pain will be there. So these are the classical things which have been recognized both in modern medicine as well as in homeopathy, that these are the main symptoms which need the redressal, like pain, hemorrhage, swelling, heat, hardness, and redness. So taking these things into the situation, in the previous slide which I showed you, homeopathic combination remedy has been tried with so many drugs. Why these drugs? How these drugs meet the requirement? Like phytolika. The characteristic of phytolika is the glandular swelling, the increased sensitivity of the gland, restlessness, and hard gland. This is seen in mastitis. Then we added bryonia because there is hot, painful, and swelling there. And then silicea, because absorption, when hardness is there, their absorption is required. There must be something which can absorb these things. Then trauma. Sometimes these memory issues or memory affections take place because of trauma also, secondary followed by the invasion. So arnica was added. And then epicarp, because congestion and hemorrhages are there. And conium, because gland is all enlarged and painful. This is synergistic effect. Conium, calcarea, they are providing a synergistic effect for the hot, painful, enlarged gland. So this is the way how the remedies are combined in homeopathic drug. Now, see another example where this has been trials have been done in India. Thalitis. As you go, thalitis is different than mastitis, and there is no bacterial invasion. It is due to the large adder coming in the contact of floor, sometimes the foot injury or other type of injury with two teeth only, where the milk is of a normal quality. In that case, some trials were conducted in India, and they used arnica 30C pills. 10 pills were given TID on the first day because of injury, then followed by bryonia 30C, 10 pills TID for the second day and third day, only 3 days. And then bryonia came back locally applied, and this we can, in this way, the cases of thalitis were reported that they have cured. Then we have other one condition on the teeth, that is vascular eruption of FMD. FMD eruption in the cows, crossbred cows and nondescript cows. These studies were taken. Then mercurius solubus 30C pills were given TID for 4 days, and then calendula cream was applied locally, and this showed the drying of the lesion and complete recovery. No antibiotic and other things were used on the postures. Now, the other studies has been, homeopathic combination remedy has been done on Anne-Stress syndrome, and the drugs were combined like calcarea phos, Altris, and Aurimica mutrium, and pulsatilla, sepia, and phosphorus. All were in 30C. They were combined together, and trials were laid in the Anne-Stress cows and buffaloes, infertility in cows, and retention of placenta. The results were very much encouraging. It was to the 60 to 80% recovery rate were there, and the diagnosis was based on hormonal and biochemical and other basis, and ultrasound examination also. All sort of examinations were conducted for postpartum Anne-Stress and infertility. Ultrasound examination was done, hormonal estimations were done, and mineral estimations were done, biochemical estimations done. Then drugs were used, results were seen, and changes in these parameters were recorded. And these are the studies from India and published in the homeopathy journal. Then in diarrhea syndrome, the combinations were seen. Single arsenic album has been tried, and this combination remedies, arsenic album, podophyllum, veratrum, Cinna, mercurius corrosive, and China. Yes, they all were combined together, and singly arsenic was used. And in wide variety of animals, pups, calves, and kids, the diarrhea with or without blood, with vomiting or without vomiting, and with scientifically basis criteria were designed: fecal consistency, frequency, presence of blood, vomiting and non-vomiting. Such type of trial has been used. The homeopathic drugs has also been tried in hematuria, cystitis, and transitional cell carcinoma in dogs. The drugs were Yuba ursi 3F, Cantharis 30C, Calcarea car 30 or 200C, and then combined aconite, bryonia, cantharis or epicarp 30C, and then complex like arsenic album, Crotalus horridus, China of ferrum phos, and acid muriaticum and echinacea. These were also remedies were created, and they were also evaluated in different urinary conditions like hematuria, cystitis. And in Seborrhea, the shampoos have been created using sulfur, mother tincture, arnica, and berberis and calendula, and they have been found very efficacious. And then oral papillomatosis. In oral papillomatosis, you can see multiple part-like in the buccal cavity. In this combination of sulfur 30C, thuja 30C, soronium 30C, and graphite 30C, they were mixed together, and 2 drops at per 5 kg BID rate they were taken for 15 days, and results has been shown is very encouraging. And then in BART, Thuja, it is well known to you, most of us are trying. And in demodicosis, the graphite 200C, 2 drops OD for 2 months have been evaluated, and sulfur 30C, 1M, 30C or 1M have been evaluated, and then shown very good result varying from 70 to 80% efficacy. Then firecracker phobia, the borax has been evaluated. Then in cardiac arrhythmia, then tachycardia, bradycardia, and atrial paroxysmal tachycardia, these digitalis and avis nigra has been evaluated, and they have shown promising results. Here you will find wonderful to look at that avis nigra is a wonderful drug. It can revert back the bradycardia to normal sinus rhythm, and it can also revert back to tachycardia to normal sinus rhythm. So this is the single drug which can act on bradycardia and tachycardia both. Then in pyrexia syndrome, if the pyrexia is there, combined therapy of the aconite, ferrum phos, belladonna, arsenic, or calimur, this has been evaluated, and singly aconite and aconite and belladonna singly has also been evaluated, and these drugs have also been evaluated on experimental models on rats, albino rats, where Brewer's yeast was given to induce pyrexia, and then these drugs were evaluated for their response. Then in other diseases, in wounds, calendula is evaluated, anorexia, nux vomica, in anemia, ferrum phos, in babesiosis, Crotalus horridus, in epilepsy, belladonna, and sty pulsatilla, these drugs have been evaluated. And this drug in osteoarthritis is in dogs. And this is a trial result in a dog. You see, this is a dog having the osteoarthritis showing symptoms, and this is the X-ray photograph. The first photograph you see, the hip joint, there is a formation osteophyte. They have reduced the gap between the acetabulum and the head of the femur. They have been reduced, and this is for hip. In the third one is stifle. See, this is marked stifle. You should see right stifle. This is a normal space. Here there is no space between 2 joints. So this is a osteoarthritis. Here this joint is normal, showing the space between the femur condyle and tibia fibula. So this joint is normal. Half joint is not normal. Then this type of combination therapy, arnica 30C, ruta 30C, rustox 30C, hypericum 30C, califos 30C, and macfos 30C, combination remedy was evaluated in these, and after 1 month their X-rays were taken. This is the X-ray of this case. You see here it is a no gap, and here the gap has become uniform. So, but this study has limitation is that this study was conducted only for 1 month. It has not been prolonged. So, and why these things were these multiple drugs were selected for the osteoarthritis? Ruta. Ruta is a characteristic if there are deposits on periosteum and cartilage. So deposits, or you make osteophytes. This is the predominant characteristic of osteoarthritis in dogs. And trauma. It is sometimes trauma-related arthritis and pain. Hypericum. It is in hind limb. This is hips and stifle, both in hind limb. So this is active on the hind limb. Then Rustock, if the joints are hot and painful, it is actually very difficult to find in the dog, whether it is hot, painful. The painful is okay, but hotness is very difficult. But so when the painful joint is there, we can go for Rustock. Then Caliphos, if the lameness aggravate on exertion. So all osteoarthritis cases, when the animal start moving, the pain increases. So with that characteristic, Caliphos was also added. And then, so there is arresting magnesium phos. The property is that it arrests the bone loss, and symptoms are cold with burst, become burst with cold. So all osteoarthritis cases, they show the more pain during winter or during rainy season. So because of this type of the symptoms, the magnesium phos was added into the combination remedy. So this is the basis how the homeopathic combination remedies were selected. So these are the results of some experimental studies which has been done in the mastitis case. That combination remedy which was used for mastitis was also evaluated scientifically whether this reduces the inflammation or not. The model was red, where carrageenan induced co-edema was taken as a model for inflammation, and the drugs were used, and result shows that edema was reduced. So this proves that the combination remedy was able to reduce the inflammation. So that was one component that it could address the problem of mastitis. Similar in hepatopathies also, many combination remedies has been evaluated. The models have been dog, rat, and mice, and the hepatopathies were of different nature. They were phenobarbital used. They were on seizures, patient dogs with the seizures or epilepsy, which were on phenobarbital for more than 2-3 months. So there was a phenobarbital induced hepatopathy, alcohol induced hepatopathy, experimental hepatopathy with the carbon tetrachloride induced, ICH, infectious canine hepatitis hepatopathy, and then secondary hepatopathies due to the protozoan infection or in other diseases. The diagnosis of hepatopathies in all these cases was based on this ultrasound and biochemical profile, and then these homeopathic complex were evaluated. So these were some of the studies which recently come in India with experimental studies, clinical studies, single remedies, multiple remedies, or combination remedies, such studies, and they have got a publication. Now, it is not only India, in other countries also. If we take a scenario of world, then in all over the world, the scenario is that most of the homeopathic drugs have been evaluated in food producing animals for mastitis or subclinical mastitis, calf diarrhea and pneumonias, postpartum disorders, metritis, retained placenta, E. coli diarrhea in piglet, stillbirth prevention, growth promoters in sows, salmonella, E. coli diarrhea in chickens, and growth promoters. Then when so much of studies are there, then where is the fuss? The fuss is that most of the trials, they lack the randomized controlled trial design, or double blind trial, or single blind trial, or non-blind trial. So they are not on that. So most of them, they are clinical studies. Few of them, they form the double blind trial and RCTs, and then mostly others are the observational studies. So the whole world scenario says the result of all these trials with homeopathic drug shows that there are 50% positive result, 20% are negative result, and 45% are inconclusive. Because the design pattern is not uniform in all studies, and they have some have used single blind, other are double blind, and other RCT trials, and some are non-observational study. So this is the variation. Because of that, all things are at word level. Meta-analysis of data is not coming in the favor of homeopathic drugs, that blankly they can be taken care of. Now, in the preventive medicine, the homeopathy has also been utilized, like no sort, they can provide the protection. As told you, the 30C is generally used, and it has been in large scale, has been used for bovine mastitis. Now, if at that scenario, at this moment, can we integrate or not? If we integrate the homeopathic drug in the animal healthcare system, what advantage we can get? The first advantage would be if we combine this with a little bit of sense and dedicacy and professionalism, then we can reduce the use of antibiotics, and which is the demand of the day. In many of the diseases, the antibiotic use can be drastically reduced. Then we can even reduce the cost of treatment. So that can be reduced. Other thing, there's a present day scenario. You are seeing the COVID situation, that it is very difficult to bring the animals from remote places. Then if we can provide them a first-hand information, like a first aid kit can be created, which farmer can use in the time of such emergencies, and then can take the advice of the expert at the first-hand therapy or first aid therapy. These kits can be used in remote places. Then they can be used as a low-cost supportive therapy, because it is not only a sole therapy, it can be an adjunct therapy also, where long therapies are required, like cancer therapy in human being. The cancer therapy, earlier even COVID, the homeopathy Ayurveda, they are also taken as a adjunct therapy. The purpose is to boost up the whole animal system so that recovery is fast. So they can be also provide a low-cost supportive therapy in many diseases. Now, looking into all these scenarios, now question comes that is legally asked: can we practice homeopathy as a veterinarian or not? This is a very fundamental core issue, and the answer is to be given, because it is a legal issue. If you are not, at present, you are trained in modern medicine. So if you use and quote legal issues come, then you are in. So you must have a legal authority that you can use the homeopathy. This is a block, great stumbling block in our practice of if we want to use homeopathy. We must have a legal authority, and another is a proper training. You will find, you talk to among ourselves or anybody, you will find that somebody has used certain things, somebody used a certain thing, animal has responded. I have come across some of these stories where the veterinarian said that the animal had a multiple fracture. They gave one dose of homeopathic therapy and animal started standing and doing fine. So this is actually single observation, no scientific evidence, no recorded evidence or proof of efficacy. So that is a lacking aspect. Another is that we are not properly trained. Veterinarian has to be trained, has to combine the basic tenet of homeopathy with a modern medicine. There is no harm in using, but the tenet of medicine, basic tenet has to be looked into. So veterinarians have to be trained, properly trained. The training may be of short term, in basic maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or certificate courses or diploma courses, whatever the authorities design that can help the veterinarian to make them authorized for using the homeopathy. Then most of the results, whatever I have shown, some there is experience based and other is, most of these studies in animals are extrapolation of the human studies, because probings have been done in humans. Probings have not been done in animals. So we cannot, and we have to just find out. There are many things which are not. That's the tail. Tail is not in human being. So how to correlate these symptoms? Then with a coccygia or vertebra, like that. If breast is in human, animals have no breast. So if we have that, then they should be for adult. Like that, we have many things have been extrapolated, and this is an area, if we really want homeopathy to be done in a systematic way, these things has to be looked into. Then other is the training facilities. As I told you, the training of the veterinarian, how to provide training. Then modalities has to be worked out. And the other thing is that more scientific data based on randomized control design or double blind trial is lacking. So whatever studies in future we take up with a more scientific data to create in a very scientific manner. We take the scientific requirement of the experiment into the consideration, so that that data is acceptable in the world at world level, and that data can form the part of meta-analysis when it is taken at the world level. Then compromising approach. That is one thing. In the modern medicine has a different way of investigation, and alternate medicines, they have a different way of experimentation. Then in alternate medicine, in homeopathy, it is an individualized. It gives stress on a whole individual, whole animal. So this is an individualized. When all modern medicine, they based on double blind trials, and they making a more number of the cases of the same disease. So we have to find out some compromise, how we can compromise the modern requirements and the homeopathic requirement for conducting the experiment. So there is a need to develop this research methodologies, and for most important for all is funding. From where the funding will come? Who is the funding agency? So we have to find the answer to these four issues if we want to take homeopathy in a right perspective in a animal treatment. So this is, in a nutshell, I have given a bird eye view for the homeopathy, and thank you very much for your patient hearing. It will be great pleasure to answer your query. Thank you very much.
Thank you, respected Vashni sir. There are few questions which have come up from the participant side.
Okay.
First is from Hemant Kumar. Sir, can we give homeopathy medicine with allopathy medicine in mastitis cases?
Yes, we can give. I say that then it will be add-on medicine, and then you cannot claim
Yes.
that this is the effect of homeopathic medicine. Yeah. In where you
Okay.
can say that add-on medicine will have, suppose is a diarrhea is there, you know, and there is a
Hmm. Hmm.
dehydration. So you can have a
Hmm.
transfusion, fluid transfusion, and use the homeopathic medicine. Here you can classify the effect, because your control group will also have a transfusion. Your treatment group will also have a transfusion, but treatment group will have a homeopathic medicine. So that added advantage can be ascribed to homeopathic medicine.
Okay, so there's one more question from Shikhar Yadav. What can be the treatment for canine distemper and parvoviral infection?
Actually, the treatment of
Hello?
hello, yes, yeah, I am audible.
Hello?
Hello, I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
In
Yes, sir.
in
Yes.
distemper, we have to look for the forms, whether it is in a gastrointestinal form, it is in a skin form, it is in a nervous form, or it is in a respiratory form. In whatever form it is, then we can use this one. And distemperinum karke, their drug is available in homeopathy. That can a blank drug that can be used for cases of distemper. But again, the question is how you are going to diagnose distemper. Then you must have a modern technology. You must have a test. You diagnose by test and then use them. Distemperinum 200 or distemperinum 3080, they can be used.
Okay. And sir, and again there is a question. If there is pus in mastitis, what can be the homeopathic medicine?
Hepar sulf can be added. Hepar sulf is a
Hepatic.
homeopathic antibiotic. Wherever there is any pus discharge or yellowish or even greenish pus, wherever this one, Pseudomonas is also there somewhere, you can use this. even E. coli or streptococci is there, you can use heparsulfone.
Okay. Hemant Kumar has asked, what is the
Hello.
dose rate of Thuja?
Uh,
Dose rate of Thuja. Hemant Kumar has asked, sir.
what
Dose rate of
I could
Thuja.
Thuja is to be used at the
What is
rate
the
30C.
yes, sir.
Yeah. The dose rate of the Thuja will depend on the type of the thing where you want to use. Suppose in papillomatosis, oral, you can use 30C. Even if for ball, you can use initially 30C and then go for 200. And a dose is not that you give 2 pills, you give 2 drops, you give 5 drops, it doesn't matter. It is not the size, but it is the potency and frequency.
Okay, sir. So
Okay.
again, Hemant Kumar has asked, yes, sir. You have already answered this, but again he has asked, can we give homeopathy medicine with allopathy medicine in mastite?
Yes, we can give.
Yes, sir. Shiv Kumar has asked, in case of bovine ketosis, homeopathic drug lycopodium, it is whether it is
Yes.
to be used singly or in combination, and what is the recovery rate, and what is the other allopathic medicine which can be used?
Hello.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Actually, the controlled. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are audible. I am
Yes,
audible.
sir. Yes, sir. You are
Yes.
also audible.
Actually, no controlled trials have been laid. They are only a few case studies or individual studies. So it is very difficult to say blanket, give any blanket recommendations. Actually, there are need to create the trial.
So again, Hemant Kumar, you have already explained about the dose rate actually, but he
Uh,
is asking dose rate of Tuja 30C in animals in case of ward. I think he
Doctor,
is meaning what is the
no,
frequency and duration
no,
of 30C?
yes. Actually, when you using for the suppose BART, you are using in the initially you can use twice daily or thrice daily. Okay, for a week, and then you can go only once a day. Okay,
Okay.
or you can switch
Okay.
over. You can use 30C for a week, twice or thrice a day. Then you can switch over to 200C, where you can give once in a week.
Okay. Okay, sir. I hope Hemant Kumar is satisfied with this, and what he meant actually I have conveyed that to you. Sandeep Sangral has asked, Sir, homeopathy medicine for true anistrus, for follicular cyst, for luteal cyst, for metritis, subclinical endometritis, for pyometra, early embryonic mortality, for hemogalaxia in cattle, and
There
and
are
there are few
actually
more questions.
there there are different medicine for different conditions. So we have to look into. And as I showed you the some result of a homeopathic combination remedy where the infertility syndrome was diagnosed on the basis of hormonal studies and other ultrasound and other studies. These combination remedies can be used for all uterine infections. Okay.
For fungal dermatitis. Yes, sir.
Which
For fungal dermatitis, homeopathy medicine.
for actually for dermatitis
Yes.
in this one in animals they are using only taking it is single as a effect of the pathogen may be mite, maybe fungus or maybe bacteria. They are depending on more sulfur. It is a constitutional remedy for skin. They are using for sulfur. If fungus is there, their there are also antifungal substances are available in homeopathy. If you are specifically diagnosed fungal, then they can be used.
Okay. Then what is the homeopathic medicine for increasing conception rate in cattle?
Conception rate, this has to, actually, medicines in homeopathy is not like that. You have to give your whole symptom for individual. Okay, this is the symptom. This is doing this, this is doing sowing this is sowing this, all these symptoms, then find out the medicine. If suppose it is because of nutrition, then you have to add nutrition, and you have sometimes you have to iodine, homeopathic iodine is also available if the iodine deficiency is there. If iron is deficiency, then iron. Then calcium is calcium. Like that, you have to match your all symptoms of individual.
Okay.
So,
Rajat MSc has asked commercially where the above said drugs are available.
homeopathic, homeopathic drugs,
Yes, sir.
you can have from the common,
Yes, sir.
which are available in human. You can have Suave from Germany. You can have, there are in all human medically stored drugs are available.
Yes. Naveen Verma has asked, is this possible to keep homeopathic medicine along with other medicines in clinics? So
Yes,
that you have
yes,
addressed that issue.
yeah, you can
Uh,
keep it in a separate cell, but away from the electromagnetic and heat. There should not be around some electromagnetic field, or the heat should not be there. You can keep them at a room temperature.
Yerevu Subbu has asked, is there treatment for systemic lupus erythematosus in homeopathy?
Actually, it is not like that in homeopathy. We have to look for the symptoms actually,
Hmm.
and then to match these symptoms.
And
Yeah,
Sushant Singh has asked homeopathy for LSD.
LSD means, LSD means,
Yes, sir.
no,
I
what?
don't know what he
Uh,
is
uh,
meaning with
uh,
that.
uh,
He has only written
uh,
homeopathy for LSD.
we have to,
Lumpy skin disease.
lumpy skin disease. It is multiple. No, it has to be. It is not like that. There is no homeopathic medicine for lumpy skin disease. But you have to see the permutation combination. As I told you, the studies in animals are not available. Scientific studies are not available. We have to make a beginning, so like this.
Yes, sir. Gurpreet Arya has asked, sir, any book available related to homeopathy in veterinary? Kindly address.
There are on internet you find there are many books of homeopathy medicine or veterinary homeopathic medicine. 8 to 10 books are available.
Okay. Now Suresh has asked, how to treat udder fibrosis in bovine?
For
Suggest any.
fibrosis, the phytolica is the medicine of choice. Fi-
Okay. Okay. Shikha Yadav, in nervous form and in parvoviral infection, what is the medicine? Nervous form of distemper.
Nahi, in nervous form of distemper, in Korea, Gelsemium, belladonna, they can be tried.
Okay. Sandhya Morwal has asked, is there any
And
homeopathic
parvoviral
medicine for
infection, sir.
udder edema?
Yes, whatever I have showed the specific remedies, you can use them. Homeopathic combination remedies which has been shown for mastitis, udderodema, blood in milk, that you can use. They can reduce the swelling. Aconite reduces the swelling, and there are the bryonia also reduces the swelling.
Okay, so some participant has asked again about the parvoviral infection, homeopathy remedy for parvoviral infection.
Actually, in parvovirus, our main concern is a vomison and diarrhea. Okay?
Hmm.
And vomison and diarrhea can be very well resolved by arsenic album and mercurous solubate. This is one. And homeopathy does not deny you to take care of the fluid balance. If the parvo, major problem of the parvo is the dehydration or ionic disbalance. So that has to be addressed by fluid therapy. So use fluid therapy and use these medicines. Mercurous solubus or arsenicum, it will take care of vomison and diarrhea.
Vijay Kumar has asked whether he can get this soft copy of today's presentation. It was very useful. And
I can only tell
Bhagi,
they can refer Indian Journal of Veterinary Medicine 2019 issue. This whole is published in Indian Journal of Veterinary Medicine, and we have published a compendium also from Syntax Pharmaceutical, and I can give the address, and they can request them. The book is available.
yes, yes, sir. So if you can just kindly read out the address so that participants can write down.
Uh, at hand, I do not have, but I will communicate to you. समझे? And
Okay, okay,
है ना?
okay. हाँ. Yes, sir, Bhagirathi Panigrahi has asked, said that considering the importance of homeopathy in veterinary, can we introduce homeopathy in veterinary course curriculum?
देखिए, this is a ticklish and academic issue, administrative issue. In fact, it should have been. BCI, it has to, all universities and all departments should write to the BCI to include it in a curriculum. At least a 1 credit or something like that course as an alternative medicine. If not, then the departments or university of their own can have certificate courses for which BCI permission is not required. So such things can be initiated at the
Okay.
university and college level, definitely. Until unless this comes, the authority will not come to
Okay.
veterinarian for using the homeopathy.
Any treatment, Yerugu Subbu has asked, any treatment for atopic dermatitis?
Atopic dermatitis, yes, we have to create allergens. We have to dust mite. You can take a dust mite. It is also a dust mite allergy, atopic dermatitis. In 80% cases, we have, and we can prepare the drug out of them, homeopathic drug. And actually, for allergens or other all immunological, it is the basic material from which the drug is to be prepared.
Okay. So you mean that we have to introduce that in the alcohol and then we have to make the
No,
concentrations?
suppose you want to prepare, that is, suppose you have to identify the allergen. That allergen is to be taken,
Hmm.
triturated, make a raw dilution
Hmm.
in maybe in
Hmm.
water, and then you dilute
Hmm.
in alcohol. Shake and dilute. There is a definite procedure of
Okay.
dilution and shaking. That allergen has to be prepared. Matlab the protocol should be standard.
Oh.
Then only it can be recognized at any level.
Okay.
Simply, if we want to
Okay.
take anything
As
and
of
mix
now,
and
we
say,
don't have any ready-made.
ready-made allergens may not, because ready-made things we are not, I don't think they are available.
Okay. Priya Walia has again requested you to repeat the treatment for pus along with mastitis
You can add
and
hepa,
pus and blood in mastitic mill.
use the homeopathic combination remedy which I have just narrated, that will take care of the mastitis, whether it is E. coli mastitis or staphylococcal or streptococcal, or if you want to add additionally, add heparsa. That's all.
Dr. Satpal Pal has asked, any medicine for faster recovery in post-surgical conditions? Whether any study has been conducted?
Okay, as I told you, in animals, only limited studies are there, because nowhere the scientific work is going on. Somebody has to take a lead, because it is not, I will say it is not an infancy. Research in veterinary homeopathy has not taken in infancy. Only sporadic studies have been taken. There is no organized study which can be repeated. Okay.
Yes.
Anything
This
else?
watery. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
uh.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, audible.
Uh, is if there is watery fluid which is yellow in color and in place of milk, if it is coming in case of mastitis, then what is the drug of choice in homeopathy?
If it is discharge is yellowish, it means it is not a milk.
Yellowish watery fluid, not
Huh,
milk, no milk,
then it
only
is
yellowish fluid is coming out of.
it is a mastitis. It is a
Yes,
mastitis.
sir.
So you use this mastitis drug in combination. Yeah. Besides, I told that the tissue level changes is also to be seen, whether the tissue is hard, hot, lumpy, nodule is there or not. Like that, these things has to be
Yes.
taken, and drug for whole mastitis is to be used.
Yes. Dr. Madhav Ajodi has asked, sir, could you throw some light on homeopathy drug potency and what is X, C, and other symbols in homeopathy?
Yes. Uh, should I start?
Yes, sir.
I answer. देखिए, in homeopathic potency, the original system was started with a X. X means dilution into 10. Take a one part. Suppose you have taken a one part of 1 ml of medicine and added 9 ml of water and shake it. This is a X potency. This is 1X. Out of this, you have taken one part of this, added again in 9 ml of the substances, then it becomes 2X. And then again, from that, if you take, like that, if you go on changing, then the potency dilution increases. 1:2 you can make. So this is a X. X means one part of medicine, 9 part of solution. 1X. And C means one part of medicine and 99 part of solution. That is 1C. That is 100 centimol. Hello? Okay. So this is difference between X and
Yes.
C.
Yes.
So this is the potency. And potentization means that every time, suppose you have added 1 ml of medicine with 9 ml of water and shake it vigorously, 200 times with a particular force that has to be strike. Then it becomes a X potency. And further dilution, further potentization, shaking, add to potency. So is it clear? This is the potentization.
So,
Yes.
yes. Yes. And Dr. Satpal has asked any medicine, homeopathic medicine for tick infestation in cattle.
Yes, from there also you have to prepare a medicine from tick. From that organism, you can make a homeopathic medicine and can use it.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir,
So
in
then,
chronic
then ticks
cases,
be given
higher.
orally, sir?
Hello, I am audible.
Is it?
What?
Yes. Yes, yes.
हाँ बोलिए. Yes.
Sir, let the participants speak. Yes,
Yes, yes,
participant who was there who wanted to ask.
yes, yes. Let them.
Continue, continue. I don't know. Yes. I don't know. He has probably lost the connectivity.
Yes.
It is my question, sir.
Huh,
If this we are preparing the medicine from the tick, uh,
huh.
it is to be given orally or it is to be applied topically?
It can be applied as a spray also. No, it can be applied as a spray.
Okay. It should not be
No,
given
no, no,
orally.
no, no,
It should not
no,
be
no,
given
not
orally.
orally, not orally.
Okay, okay. Okay. Dr. Rajendra Bharadwaj has asked treatment for fungal dermatitis. You have answered this
Yes, yes.
question, but again he has asked treatment for fungal dermatitis in animals.
But the same thing, fungal dermatitis and same thing.
Sanjeev Fogat has asked any medicine for chronic renal failure in dogs.
Nee, not renal stimulatory drugs. In renal drugs, you have to see whether what type of symptom they are causing. Yeah, as I told you, they can stimulate the kidney function. Like we can use cantharis.
Hmm.
They can use the can infection. They can address the infection and can stimulate the kidneys also.
Asked, what about the side effects of homeopathic drug? Does it
Sa-
follow any mechanism of action,
No,
uh, like
if that
overdose, half
if the
lifetime?
no, there is if the drug is used after the receding of the symptom, the same symptoms will reappear. So the drug
Hmm.
should be stopped as soon as the symptoms is stopped. So no overuse of the drug. And if the
Okay, sir.
symptoms are not matching, they can create other symptoms also.
Okay, sir.
Hmm.
And any Hemant Kumar has asked any homeopathy medicine diploma course available in India?
It is a some certificate. I heard in Kerala they are
Huh.
offering. Huh.
Okay. Yes,
Huh.
sir.
Kerala University is offering. It may
Uh,
be a distance learning, maybe a online courses maybe there.
okay, sir. What chronic seizures in pediatric patients?
Yes. Yeah, this gelsemium and belladonna.
Okay, sir.
But
Then
but
Dr.
mind
R.
you,
Suresh has asked any
no,
drug for her.
for
Yes.
drug for
Con- so you
huh,
continue with
no,
that chronic
huh,
seizure pediatric. You wanted to say add
huh.
something?
I add something because in some
Hmm.
species of animals the seizures are not due to the nervous only, but they become a hypocalcemic in
Hmm.
certain
Hmm.
post-parturient bitches, these seizures are not
Hmm.
due to the nervous stimuli, but it is a hypocalcemia. Or like in other pet animal,
Hmm.
rodent, hamster, guinea pigs, and squirrels. The seizures are due to the bone metabolic diseases. So there,
Hmm.
addition of the calcium carbonate is necessary. And in dogs and other animals, we have to look for one more pair, whether the dog is not hypoglycemic. If hypoglycemia is there, then we
Hmm.
have to give glucose. And if postparturient females are there, then we have to give the calcium
Hmm.
also beside giving these drugs. Okay?
In bovines.
Huh. Hello.
Cervical dilation.
I don't think there is some specific medicine for cervical dilation. I don't think.
Okay, sir. Daniel Rishi has asked homeopathy for canine ehrlichiosis.
Canine ehrlichiosis is basically you can use this Crotalus horridus or you can TNT for changing in the
Hello.
both any of these two medicines for canine ehrlichiosis.
Okay, sir. Now
Sir,
the
sir,
questions
which
which are
medicine, sir?
yes.
Yes. Sorry.
He wants you to repeat it, sir.
Sorry, madam. क्या?
Repeat करने के लिए अभी आपने जो आंसर दिया he
नहीं,
wants
in ehrlichiosis the for ehrlichia the major problem is hemorrhagic diathesis. In hemorrhagic diathesis you have to increase the platelet count and then decrease the permeability of the vessels. So for that you can use the TNT or Crotalus horridus. Okay. And echinacea also you can use.
now the questions yes sir you have answered all the questions. Okay. Thanks to all the participants. Now I would request Dr. Arpita Srivastav, Assistant Professor Veterinary Pharmacology from our college to give a vote of thanks to you and to all the participants. Arpita ma'am. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Yes.
my voice is
Yes.
clear, madam.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yes
Aditi,
ma'am.
madam.
Yes ma'am.
I extend my hearty vote of
Yes madam.
thanks.
It is clear.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I extend my hearty vote of thanks to our guest speaker, Dr. Jagdish Prasad Vashne, sir, who blessed us with such a wide, exhaustive, and valuable information on homeopathy. I'm humbled to you, say thank you to you, sir, for allotting your precious time. I would extend a special thanks and of gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S.P. Tiwari, sir, for inspiring us to conduct such technical sessions. I wish to express my thanks to Dr. R.P.S. Baghel, sir, Dean Faculty, NDVSU Jabalpur. I would like to extend special thanks to our respected Dean, sir, Dr. S.S. Tomar, sir, for encouragement and continuous support in every step of conduction of these webinar sessions. I would like to also extend my thanks to Dr. Nilesh Sindhu, Luvas, Haryana, for providing the technical support. Last but not the least, I am also very much thankful to all the participants for showing their patient listening and curiosity over the topic. And at last, I would like to thank all the organizing committee members, and especially Dr. Aditi Dikshit Madam, for organizing such a wonderful webinar and such a good piece of information delivered by our Vashni sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Nilesh.